Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, 4 suspects in the killing of Governor Degamo recant their testimonies linking Teves to the crime. But the Justice Department remains confident that they can charge the suspects despite their recantations. Senior Deputy State Prosecutor Richard Fadulion joins us in the program. And later, the House Ethics Committee sets another hearing to deliberate the unauthorized absence of Negros Oriental Representative Arnie Teves after his 60-day suspension ends. House Ethics Committee Vice Chairperson Jill Bongalon joins us in the program. The Justice Department believes the recantation of 4 suspects in the Degamo murder will not have an effect on the case. The DOJ says it remains confident that it will secure a conviction as there is more than enough evidence to pin down the accused. The department adds the recantation only puts into question the credibility of the suspects. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Senior Deputy State Prosecutor Richard Fadulion. Attorney Fadulion, welcome to The Source. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Good morning, Ma'am Pinky. Good morning to all your viewers, and thank you for the invitation.
I want to get an update on this. Have 4 suspects recanted, and have you received their what is supposed to be called an affidavit of recantation?
Well, so far what we have on record is the affidavit of recantation of accused Osmundo Rivero. There have been reports that we've been hearing that there are 3 others who are supposed to submit their affidavits of recantation. But as of this morning, I have already checked. We have not received any.
Okay. I spoke to Attorney Villanueva, the lawyer of Rivero, and 3 others. Actually, he did say yesterday that 4 have recanted. But there's a question supposedly on the one of Rivero. Let's start with him, suspect Rivero. So you've received the affidavit of recantation of Rivero. But according to their lawyer, government, or would it be the panel of prosecutors, is asking for their camp to submit additional information such as the original affidavit of suspect Rivero that was made or done in Negros Oriental, sir. Is this true?
Well, that is something that I have to verify, Pinky. What I know is that the reason why the panel requested for the submission of additional documents was because what was submitted, the schedule of the hearing last Monday was only for the submission of the counter affidavit of accused Rivero. There is an ongoing investigation, a preliminary investigation, which is ongoing in the department right now.
Yes.
And that includes suspect Rivero. He submitted, together with the Contra Salaysay, a copy of his affidavit. We must take note that these cases were not filed all at the same time. There were cases that were initially investigated by our prosecutors in Negros Oriental. And probably that would be the reason why this new panel now, conducting the investigation for all 10 murders and more or less 18 frustrated and attempted murders, are requiring the submission of additional documents from the previous case that was investigated.
Could you help us understand that better, sir? So there was already a panel that investigated this in Negros Oriental, sir?
Yes, this is what happened. Immediately after the incident on March 4, 2023, there were suspects who were arrested. Among them would be Osmundo Rivero and 3 others. They were arrested, 3 were arrested on March 4, and then Rivero was arrested on March 5. Immediately thereafter, they were subjected to inquest proceedings, and we have a specific time frame under the rules within which to conduct the investigation. So since they were arrested in Negros Oriental, it was proper that they would be subjected for inquest proceedings in Negros Oriental. Subsequently, the cases were ordered transferred by the Supreme Court upon the request of the Department of Justice to Manila. And it is now being handled by prosecutors from the main office under the Office of the Prosecutor General.
So what happened during the inquest in Negros Oriental, sir?
Well, during the inquest, if I'm not mistaken, there were only 3 complainants for murder who had witnesses who filed complaints as against the 4 who were arrested. And as a result of that investigation, they were charged for at least 3 counts of murder then. So when the cases were transferred here to Manila, that is when we continued with the investigation relative to the remaining 7 murders and the
I
18
see.
counts of restraining and attempted murder.
I understand. So parang because there are more murders and they were only
Yes.
charged with 3, that
Yes,
continues on in Metro Manila because the case has been transferred.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
But with regards to the 3 murders, they were charged for the murders of whom?
They were charged, if I can remember only one right now, definitely that would be for the murder of Governor Degamo.
Okay.
Because Mayor Eunice Degamo was one of the first ones who came forward to file a complaint as against the ones who were immediately arrested.
So, because now they have this affidavit of recantation, again, just suspect, we're talking about suspect, accused Rivero, this one, sir.
Yes.
Isn't it incumbent of the panel of prosecutors to be the one to get any information during the inquest proceedings in Negros Oriental last March 5 rather than have their camp be the one to supply the panel of prosecutors any additional information?
Well, the thing there is, all the allegations contained in the affidavit of recantation referred to things which actually or supposedly happened during the time that the investigation was conducted in Negros Oriental.
Okay.
These are allegations which are brought forward by accused Rivero, and therefore it is incumbent upon Rivero to now present proof of the facts that he is now alleging in his affidavit of recantation.
Such
I
as?
think it is only correct. Yes,
Such
I
as,
think it is
sir?
only correct for the panel to require him to submit documents in support of whatever allegations are contained in his affidavit of recantation.
I see. So, because he's claiming, sir, torture, are you saying...
Yes.
Okay, so with regards to that, what is he supposed to submit?
Well, if, for example, he claims torture, simply alleging torture is one thing, but having to prove it by showing what medical legal reports,
Marks.
no, affidavits of examinations by doctors, and probably record of the injuries and any complaint that he may have filed as a consequence thereof, is something that will have to be submitted, if only to justify or if only to lend credence or support to the contents of his affidavit of
But
recantation.
how does one prove that one was tortured? Where should he have gone, knowing that he's been detained from the time, supposedly, sir, that March 5, because he claims in his affidavit that he lost his motorbike. May nakita daw siyang pulis, pinara niya yung pulis, pinik up siya ng pulis, dinala sa stasyon, and then eventually charged him for the death of Governor Degamo and 9 or 10 others, sir. And then so he again saying that he was forced to implicate this Marvin Miranda and Congressman Arnie Teves. How does one prove that?
Well, for one, we should take note of the fact that, well, his allegations are really allegations as of this time. This is all subject to proof. There are other statements that were executed by Rivero himself,
Right.
which would support the earlier statement that he gave before the prosecutors in Negros Oriental. Now, if you're asking how they would prove it,
Yeah.
during the time that Rivero was here in Manila already, and I think he was detained at the National Bureau of Investigation, he was subjected to medical examination as a standard operating procedure in receiving detainees. And complaints could have been raised already there. There were lawyers who assisted him from the public attorney's office during the taking of his statements, and right
Yeah.
off, they were given the opportunity to talk, and there would have been that opportunity for him to ask for another examination if he felt that the first one was something that was questionable. See? But all these things were not done. And there is this thing also about calling in the participation probably of the Commission on Human Rights to check if there was any proof of torture that was committed. But
Those-
all these are being brought forward only now, practically a month and a half after they were brought to Manila.
And that becomes suspect, sir.
Well, if you ask me, there's a lot of explaining to do because of the variance in the initial statement that was executed, this recantation, and the other statements that Rivero himself issued. So the subject or the matter of having to prove it is now with Rivero, because it doesn't follow that just because he recanted, what he's saying now is the absolute truth.
And that's where the question lies, attorney, no? How does one determine which part of the affidavit was actually true?
Correct. That is correct. And I think one of the major considerations in determining that would be the proximity to the time when the statement was made, because it's closer and closest to the time when the incident for why one is being charged. So the closer the statement is to the time when it was when the incident actually happened, closest to March 4, it's something which is fresh in the memory of a witness,
Yeah.
and therefore is something that should be given credence. Any changes or any variance thereto, if minor only, would be understandable. But when you have a complete 180-degree
180 turn, yeah.
something which is quite suspicious.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I understand that kind of argument. But what if one was pressured, tortured, scared, and said that his family was in danger? Does that kind of justification or defense or appreciation of facts still hold?
Yes, let's put it this way, Pinky. If, for example, there are these allegations made by Rivero in his affidavit of recantation, it's something that's worth looking into. And if it is true, then anybody who may have been responsible for it, if proven to be correct, may be held responsible or may be held accountable. However, if, for example, it turns out that these are allegations which cannot be supported, which is something which cannot be backed up by evidence, then the one who makes the recantation should likewise face the full force of the law.
Yeah. So parang lumalabas, attorney, the burden of proof lies with Rivero.
In this particular case that he gave his affidavit of recantation, I would say yes.
I
The
see.
burden of proving his guilt is now on the prosecution. But remember, there is a twist here because he had made earlier statements,
Yeah.
and now he's changing them. So it's up to him and his lawyers to try and explain, and justify and probably present evidence to prove that the allegations in his affidavit of recantations are actually true and correct.
Are you expecting the recantation of three others? Because it's been reported that the three others will recant. They are accused Antipolo, Pataguan, and Laura. And just a follow-up, attorney, what is the overall effect of these recantation and the upcoming recantations?
Well, as you said, like you, we've received reports as early as I think Friday last week. I've seen already video clips in YouTube where the lawyers were saying that there would be recantations that would be made. But thus far, like I said earlier, we have received only the affidavit of recantation of Rivero. Now, what would be the effect of the additional recantations? I expect nothing, or I don't expect anything different from what Rivero said and Rivero's actions of recanting, for the simple reason that I think they're represented by the same counsel.
Yes.
So that would have to be the same strategy or track that they would take. Now, as to the question of how it would affect or impact on the case that we have right now, remember that this would be the recantation or the affidavits executed by Rivero would be in the nature of testimonial evidence only. And that is just one piece of evidence in every criminal case. You still have documentary, you still have object evidence, and you have forensic evidence. So in answer to the question, I would say that even if you have testimonial evidence, which is now, the credibility of which is now put in question, the department still has other pieces of evidence which it can use and will use as against the other accused, even if they have thus recanted.
And I'm thinking it would be some of the yung mga basyo ng bala na nakita dun sa crime scene as compared to what was supposed to be found. This is just me assuming, sir, no? Supposedly found in the sugar mill of the Teveses. Would that be correct, sir?
Yes, that would be correct,
Okay.
Pinky. Like I said, the difficulty with testimonial evidence is that it can easily be swayed, it can easily be
Okay.
influenced.
Yeah. Just
Okay, but
sorry, Attorney, no, a quick question so we understand this better. How many suspects are there? And how many, let's just say four, one has recanted and three are supposed to recant as well. That makes it 1 plus 3 equals 4. Ilan pa ho yung suspects or respondents who are still pointing to Marvin Miranda and Congressman Arnie Teves?
so far there are 6 others.
And their testimonies are solid, would you say? Ganun ho ba yun? Or it's still up for assessment, sir?
Well, I think it would be safe for me to say that it's still up for assessment, considering that there's still a preliminary investigation that's ongoing.
Okay, so-
I do not want to preempt the panel's findings on that.
Sir, just also quickly, when does the panel, so wala na po kayo sa evaluation, the panel of prosecutors is already on the formal investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We already finished the evaluation. The records have already been and will be forwarded, if I'm not mistaken, by this morning to the panel that will conduct the investigation on the new cases filed by the National Bureau of Investigation.
So the formal investigation of the panel of prosecutors will begin maybe today or tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am. That would include the consideration of to issue subpoenas to the newly charged respondents in these new cases that were filed.
Who
Because
are?
remember, the new cases that were filed includes, if I'm not mistaken, Congressman Arnie Teves and I think 5 or 6 others.
That's right, from the last one that was filed.
Yes, ma'am.
From the NBI, yung dala po nilang mga boxes supposedly ng evidence. All right, we'll continue to get more details on this as the investigation progresses. Senior Deputy State Prosecutor Richard Fadulion, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky, and thank you again for the invitation. Good morning to everyone.
We'll be taking a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned.